Hello, everybody. Our devotion today is from John chapter 14, verse 1. But before we get there, we need to make sure we understand the context of what's happening in this passage. The disciples know is ominous things are happening. Jesus has been receiving all kinds of opposition, all kinds of questioning. People are out for them. Thomas at one point and said, when they headed back to Jerusalem, let us go with him so up to Jerusalem we can die with him. So they knew that things were bad and they were out to get Jesus. And it's on that Monday, Thursday evening, and Jesus has gathered them together and he's just washed their feet, which sets him on edge because he's the rabbi. They're supposed to wash his feet. Jesus does something completely out of the box, completely unexpected, and washes their feet, showing what servanthood's really about. And then immediately after that, Jesus predicts and tells Judas that you're going to betray me. Jesus knew what was going to happen and that Judas was going to betray him. And then shortly right after that, Jesus and Peter have this. Peter says, I'll never betray you. And Jesus says, yes, 3 times you're going to betray me. And the disciples are kind of on edge, is that one of their own is going to betray him. And Peter, the rock, the anchor of the disciples, is going to deny him 3 times. And then immediately after that, Jesus says these words in verse 1. He says, let not your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. Let not your hearts be troubled. It's important to catch the context. In the midst of the anxiety, in the midst of the chaos, in the midst of all the stuff going on, Jesus says, don't let your hearts be troubled. Calm down. Focus on me. Trust in God. Trust also in me. That's what Jesus is saying. One of the things that we need to realize is just kind of the way we're made up is you can't stop thinking about something. You can't will yourself to stop thinking about something. And I'll give you an example. All right. I don't want you to think about chocolate ice cream. Right. So now you're going to think about chocolate ice cream all day, and I will too, actually. But what we can do is we can refocus. You can't stop thinking about something, but your brain will focus on something else. What Jesus is telling us in the midst of all the anxiety, in the midst of all the stress, is to focus on him. Trust in God, trust also in me. That's how we let our hearts stop being troubled. That's how we let our hearts to not be filled with anxiety, is to trust in God, trust also in him. Now, that's important for us today. Because even though we're in the midst of this COVID, and even though we're coming out of all the quarantines and we're coming out of all the restrictions, and here at Concordia, we're beginning in-person worship slowly on Sundays. But there's still a lot of unknowns. There's still a lot of anxiety. There's still a lot of questions. People are still on edge on what's going to happen in our world and what's going to happen with the economy, and is we're going to have a COVID bounce, and what's going to happen with all the things. There's a lot of anxiety still running around. And Jesus' message to us today, in the midst of all the anxiety we're facing, he says this: let not your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. That's how we deal with anxiety. That's how we deal with trouble. We believe in God. We trust in God. We trust in him. Thank you, and thanks for watching with us today.